Hi, we're at one of our training facilities, and today is Underwood Xtreme Penetrator Ammunition, Part 2. Previously, I did a demonstration shooting through two meat targets in tandem to see if the Xtreme Penetrator would give us more penetration than conventional FMJ ammo. Oh, and I referred to the Xtreme Penetrator as FMJ just in the generic sense. It is a homogeneous projectile, and as far as I can tell, is made of copper. Well, anyway, it did not give us more penetration than conventional full metal jacket ammunition did. But some viewers pointed out that Xtreme Penetrator isn't meaning that it's going to go through more organic material. It means that it will go through a barrier and then do more damage to the intended target than conventional hollow points would if you had to shoot a target behind a barrier. Okay, let's see if we can put that to the test. Now what we have here is a 1995 Isuzu Rodeo that some of you may remember from our comparison of AK and AR platforms. And today what I've got is in the driver's seat our meat target. Now for those who haven't seen it, it's leather jacket skin followed by pork chop pectorals, pork ribs, bag of oranges lung tissue, more pork ribs on the back, 4 layers of t-shirt on each side, and all of that followed by the high-tech fleece bullet stop. And I'll go back 7 yards and I'll shoot it with my Sig Sauer model P229, which is loaded with Hornady custom ammunition caliber 40 Smith & Wesson 155 grain jacketed hollow point. And then we'll repeat that with the Xtreme Penetrator ammo and see how they compare. Well, I've got the meat target taken apart, and all of our projectiles went all the way through, and they're all stopped by the first couple of layers of fleece. And we see some fairly good damage to our orange lung tissue, but just in my subjective observation of this, it looks like there's less damage here than you would typically see with this type of 40 Smith & Wesson hollow point. And that's to be expected after it went through a car door. Now let me show you a close-up of the projectiles. And here's our 4 projectiles, and you can see there's some expansion, but I think a lot of that is deformation caused by going through the car door. Now I've got a new meat target in the car, and I've positioned it a little farther forward so I won't shoot through the same bullet holes, and I'll shoot from 7 yards with our Underwood Xtreme Penetrator ammunition. You may have noticed that the first few shots went basically through the same hole. That's because sometimes I forget that I'm supposed to be spreading those out so they don't all have the same point of impact. But halfway through the string I remembered what I was supposed to be doing, so I was able to spread them out a little bit, and that's why I fired a couple of extra shots. So, snafu notwithstanding, let's take a look at the meat target. Well, I've got the meat target torn apart, and there is some damage to it, but before we go into that, let me show you a close-up of the projectiles. Here's 5 of our projectiles, and they're all very consistent with their sharp edges just rounded off a little bit. This 6th one has some damage to the front, but that's only because of something it hit in the door. And all the projectiles were stopped by the first or second layer of fleece. Now this Xtreme Penetrator ammunition has 140 grain bullets, and so to keep the test as fair as I could, I used the Hornady custom ammunition with a 155 grain bullet to get at least similar projectile weights, as opposed to using a 180 grain hollow point, which is so common in 40 Smith & Wesson. Now for damage to our meat target, on the ribs on the front I see a lot of damage, several shattered ribs. There's quite a bit of damage to our orange lung tissue. And so, in my subjective observation of this, and taking into account that I know this meat target was shot 6 times, as where the other one was shot only 4 times, it does look like the Xtreme Penetrator ammunition is doing a little more damage than the conventional hollow points were when the barrier of the car door is introduced into the equation. But as far as extreme penetration, even with the hollow points or the Xtreme Penetrators, they were all stopped by the first few layers of fleece, so I don't see a whole lot more penetration. Now we don't want to hang our hats on the results of just this one test, but so far it does look like there is some merit to the idea of the Xtreme Penetrator ammunition as far as damage it can do to the intended target behind a barrier. We'll have to do more tests in the future with different types of barriers. So until then, don't try this at home on what you call a professional, and thanks for watching Xtreme Penetrator Ammunition Part 2.